podcast where humans are uniquely special.
Well, hi. The fact
First
that
things
you're
first.
honestly, the fact that your buzzing environment in human design is fucking perfect. That this is the exact intro second. It's
like, hold on, let me get a selfie.
yeah, seriously. Oh my goodness. Well, welcome. I don't even know what this podcast is going to be called. I'm just rolling with it, and it's almost like I wish people could be a fly on the wall of conversations that I have with some of my favorite people, because I find that they're equally as serving to me as they might be to a dear friend of mine. And so you were one of the first people that popped into my head that I wanted to talk
Aw,
to.
that's so nice. I was flattered.
Do you want to introduce yourself however you want to? Which is
Okay.
interesting because
I'm a manifesting generator. Yeah, so I'm Angela. Kayla and I met on Instagram a couple
yes,
years ago now. We can't remember who slid into each other's DMs because it's
it's
just
very on
something we
brand for
both do.
both of
No,
us. Yeah.
it's very like us. Like I've made so many friends via social in that same way, and
Mm-hmm.
I think because we're both the same online as we are in
Right.
real life, that's why it kind of works. We like connect with people that way.
1000%.
Um, but I guess my professional background is that I started doing social media management in like 2015.
Mm-hmm.
When it kind of first started being a job, I just like got social. Like I met my first boyfriend on MySpace. Like you saw me on my friend's top eight.
Oh my gosh. I was never in the MySpace area or era, and I'm interested in
How old are
if it
you?
was. I'm 34,
Oh,
but I grew
yeah,
up
well,
in
I'm
a
35.
very, very small conservative town.
Mm,
And I think I had MySpace, but I wasn't trendy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So MySpace, yeah,
Yeah.
from there. And then another girlfriend, we met on like a Facebook status. I was like a bridesmaid in her wedding, like to this day, one of my best friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was just always the girl that had like a million pictures, like an album, like immediately the next day on Facebook, and then like Picnic. I don't know if you remember
Mm-hmm.
Picnic with like the editing. And so then when social started being like a job and like helping others with social, I was like, okay, cool. Like that's something that I've just like always has been fun for me. And it's just
Yeah.
very natural for me to like communicate digitally with people, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then a girl who we were Instagram friends, she reached out to me that she wanted to start a social agency. But she had some health issues, so she was like, I really want like a partner, not necessarily just like an employee. Like I want someone who can like be there when I can't be. And I was like, okay, great. And of course, like all over Instagram DM, like just like you. And so then like we
Yeah.
finally meet up and we start going at it. Um, but then pretty like early days, she got a job opportunity to be like an in-house social person, like a life coach in Santa Barbara.
You froze, Angie.
I did. Oh, it
It's
is
okay.
frozen.
So
Well, I
I
can see my
last
little thing.
heard.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, okay. What did you last hear?
So early days.
Oh, okay. Early days, she got a job opportunity to go be an in-house social person for a life
Mm,
coach in Santa Barbara. So then she was like, I'm gonna go like make more money and then we can come back to this in a year. But by that point, I was kind of like in the thought process. And so then
totally.
I got my first client, a woman I knew through like a previous job. I knew she was starting something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the girl came back, but then after that, she was she got way more into education, I think, because of the life coach. And so she saw
Mm,
that. And even like, I don't know, I was just always more interested in like the process. Like I enjoy doing, I enjoy creating, like I enjoy that. Like I also have like a sales background. I've done like door to door sales. I formerly studied like marketing and advertising.
mm.
So, anyways, we went our separate ways, and she did build like a big community of education and the whole thing. But that started my journey of like my client work. And so then that first client, their website was incredibly dated. And so I was like, well, let me do your website, which I had never done one before, but I always liked tech and like graphic design. And I was like, and with the previous like agency, the girl was using Squarespace. So I kind of like saw it a little bit. So I was like, I think I could figure this
Where
out.
did you get your entrepreneurial mindset? Or like, because this is so aligned with you being an MG of like, especially in the social space, like you're as an MG, you learn things very quickly and you kind of move on to the next and bring what you learned from your last role, if it's similar or opposite, with you. And I feel like that is has served you so well because you just like hop to one thing to the next in like the most beautiful way. But like, what gave you that like desire to want to do it on your own or start in the first place?
Well, it's funny you say that. I'm going to answer that question. But first, on the topic of how you see me as like a little hopper, kind of like I guess when I was kind of starting, I like remember talking to my mom and I was saying that as like a negative thing about me. I was like, I feel, because I guess before I started the entrepreneurial journey, I had like some corporate jobs and I felt like I would kind of move on very quickly. And I was like, I feel like I keep quitting this stuff, but like I'm not a quitter. So like I'm confused why I'm doing this. And my mom was like, she's like, well, it's not quitting because you're always like just more like a little like bunny or like a leapfrog. It's like you're always moving on to like something better. So it just, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, it just like struck me that you said you saw me as like hopping around because of that one conversation.
Yeah.
And that made me feel better. She's like, you're always moving on to something that is like better. You're never like quitting or stopping something to go back. I've never moved backwards. I've always moved forwards.
Yeah.
Um, and now my answer to the question of where did I get the entrepreneurial spirit is from my dad. He did a lot of entrepreneurial stuff sometimes. Uh, he worked in marketing and then sometimes he would go out on his own ventures and come back. I actually am kind of like learning more about that recently with like a different
I'm
side thing
getting
of like getting a
confused
different
and I don't know
review.
why.
Am I
I just want to
back?
make sure that it's on my end or your end. But
Well, I'm not frozen on my end, so tell me if I come back.
okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'll just push through those moments.
Yeah. So I guess I'd say that I got the entrepreneurial spirit from my dad. Um,
Okay.
but also something else I'd like to like mention, point out, I guess, is that when I started this, I didn't know that I was starting my career. Like it was
Mm,
just something that it was interesting to me. Like, and like I said, I'd always been good at social, and then this girl wanted to do this thing. She left, all of a sudden I'm still here. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'll try it. But I still had other jobs for the first like 2 years of my um, of starting my own business because I didn't. And the reason I want to say that is because I think a lot of people today, I hear them and they come to me, they're like, I really want to start a business, but like I don't know what to do. And like
yeah.
I don't really understand that because like I didn't even intend to start my business. Like I started my business because like I was doing things that I love doing and then from there word of mouth it spread and it spread and then I was like, okay, I have clients. Okay, I have a clients for a couple of months. Okay, like let's quit everything else. So I don't know, it developed into a career. I didn't say
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to quit everything and I want to start a business. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just was doing something that I loved and then a business developed out of it. Um, so yeah, I didn't really intend to have it
That
turn
is,
into this,
yeah.
but yeah.
That is perfect. That's a perfect example of when you focus on just enjoying what you do versus looking outside of like, how did other people do it? Because our stories are
Mhm.
very different. And I think
Mm,
I'll weave in human design when it makes sense, but you being a sacral authority following your joy and what makes you happy is number one. It's always going to lead you down the right direction. I'm splenic, so I'm very instinctual, or um, maybe like instinctual from a intuitive but also survival standpoint.
Hmm.
So I got into the business ownership entrepreneurial space out of like survival of
Mm.
extreme burnout. Like that was no, I felt like there was no other choice from a survival
Mm.
standpoint. So, but now that like I've learned my energy, I can be more intuitive with it. But I find that a lot of the times life happens for me, not to me, and that's kind of my mantra. And
Mm.
for you, I'm really seeing like when you prioritize doing what you love and filling your day with that, you are kind of given things to respond to and progress and hop into the next direction.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And um, back in the day, in the beginning, I feel like that was, I don't know,
2015
I
is
guess,
early.
yeah, I mean, it's been 9 years, 9 years.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I guess it all just kind of like snowballed because then I learned the websites. And then the
Hmm.
first one I did, it was kind of just whatever at the time. Like looking back was whatever, but at the time I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then like from like word of mouth, and then also I would share on my own personal social media. And I actually got about what I was doing and what I was up to. And now I'm doing websites and I'm doing social. And then I started then I would do like the emails because I also like graphic design. And then I'm like, okay, well, now we need content. But then like just I was just friends with like photographers and models and stuff. So I like put together these photo shoots. And then I was just like, wait, this is actually like a full service as well of like producing these photo shoots. So then I started like content production. And then just like who I am, like they'll hire me for one thing, but then I'm just like strategy. Like they're like, what? Okay, they want me to do something. I'm like, okay, but what about this? And then like, I don't know. So it just, so then I ended up, now I guess I have experience in kind of like every touch point of the brand. And my last corporate job was an event planner. So that's kind of like the another, I guess most of my stuff is like digital branding, but then I also do have like the events background. Something else I was going to say, but now I can't remember.
Just so many skills, so many skills. I think this will be very expansive for people in terms of if they are an MG or just a human in general. Like, if you don't enjoy doing something, you can change it. Or if you have an idea, you can pursue it. Or if something doesn't feel like it fits, says who?
Hmm.
Like you're just like a perfect example of someone that continuously prioritizes what interests you and what inspires you and you go down that direction. And yeah.
Well, I so appreciate you saying it in that positive. 'Cause it's kind of like with my mom. Like, I feel like that's something that I feel, I guess, in my mind, I kind of perceive as a negative. I do have a lot of skill sets, but then I feel like I struggle with how to like present that to others and not become overwhelming and have it be a positive thing that I like know so many things. So I feel like I go into it and I'm like, well, I can do this, 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 and this, and then I feel like it's like, well, but to hear like
Yeah.
your perception of everything I just said, and you're like, that's great, you have so many skills. I'm like, okay,
No,
that's like a better way to look at it.
for
So,
sure. And I obviously as a projector like see you in, like in such a beautiful way. But I relate to what you're saying when I started or desired to do human design and affiliate PR.
yeah.
It's like I thought I spent probably 2 years thinking I had to pick. Like I have to have all this pressure to grow this human design business so then I can finally lay to bed this like affiliate PR business. And I never like
Hmm.
sat with the possibility that I could do both at the same time. And if
Hmm.
people were confused, it's not my fucking job to explain it to them. Like the
Hmm.
right people are going to be in my inbox or the right people.
Hmm.
It's crazy the random accounts that find me and are like, wow, you do human design and affiliate PR? That is so cool. Like people that
Hmm.
get it. People that don't. And
Hmm.
by being your authentic self and even like confusing or like hard to figure out to the masses, that to me, I find that it just curates who comes into your world a little bit more.
Hmm. I love that. And it's ironic to hear you say that because it's like opposite. Like when I see what you're doing, like even like my friends, I'm like, oh, you know, my friend's podcast, like, oh, what does she does? And I was like, well, she does affiliate PR and human design. So everything that she's doing with marketing is like very influenced on like human behavior. And like for me, I'm like genius. Like when I see you, I'm like genius. And so
How
it's
you said that,
interesting.
I've never, I might have to have you text me to that. Text
But
me
that's
that.
like literally how I always describe you and how I perceive your that I totally understand what you're saying that they're very different skill sets, but
Yeah.
it's so complementary. And there's another, she's one of my models actually, but she was wanting to learn about digital marketing and social, and then she's also getting her master's in like psychology right now. And I was like, that's actually perfect. I was like, because marketing is psychology. I was like, it's
Yes.
human behavior. Like, yes, there's
Yes.
all this like all the other like deliverables and assets to be created, but at the end of the day, like under like like someone who has studied psychology would be incredible at marketing. And then she
Mm-hmm.
also like has the aesthetic eye, and like she already gets content and she's like a model, so she does all that plus psychology
Totally.
plus marketing, and that's like a very
Totally.
similar
And she could
combo.
be the model for her own clients. She
Hmm.
could
Yeah.
be her own human resource department, like
Yeah.
1000%.
But it's the same concept, I feel, of like
Yeah.
your complementary skill set and passions. And I think that makes you more attractive. You know, I'm always trying to like figure out something that we can work together on
Oh, yeah.
because so many affiliate PR and PR is great. And you have to be like so smart and like creative and like brilliant for it. But then to have this other passion of equal parts passion, maybe even more so for like the
Mm-hmm.
human on the other side of it. I just love that about
Mm-hmm.
you. Yeah.
It's for human design, I had to like, I say this all the time in our conversations, but like I thought I knew the first couple of years,
Mm,
and I had to like feel it and live it, and also kind of decondition what I learned about my
mm.
human design of being a projector and needing all of this support. That was great. I was able to witness my team, but I was people pleasing a lot, and I was like afraid that they were gonna abandon me or leave. So I was trying to be the
Your
cool
team?
boss.
Yeah.
Yes, I was trying to be the cool boss,
I hear you.
and yeah, and so there are a lot of like, again, life happens for me, not to me. So there's so much
Mm,
wisdom that I learned. But to think at the beginning that I'm a projector doing human design and affiliate PR, managing accounts all by myself, and I am a non energy type, I just found different ways to do it in a more efficient way. It's not that
mm-hmm.
I'm doing a different service, it's just how I'm doing it is very different. And how I'm sharing, like one of my clients is a manifester. I overshare everything at first so she doesn't have to
Mm,
circle back with me. So that's how I like naturally, really what all it is to understand others and yourself to feel better in life,
mm-hmm.
because I've felt like shit a big part of my
Mm-hmm.
life.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. I also really can empathize with your journey of building the team. And then I don't know what you said about it, people pleasing and just
Oh
being
yeah,
the cool
fear of
boss,
abandonment, fear of abandonment. Yeah.
wanting to be the cool boss. For
Yes.
me, when I would
Yes.
hire, I tried hiring a couple people. There were the wrong hires for multiple reasons, but one of them was I have so much like PTSD from like early days in my career when I was still working corporate jobs of unfortunately like women coming down hard on me to like not speak unless like specifically spoken to and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I felt like discouraged of, I guess the story I'll reference is it was like a small startup and like um I was like junior sales director or whatever. Anyways, the CEO's there and it's just like roundtable convo. And he's like talking and I'm just like, oh yeah, what about this, da, da, da. And she was like the marketing person. And like
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, she literally like pulled me aside and was like, literally it was like, you know, like unless he's like specifically asking you, there's like hierarchy of like things you need to go through me. Like literally use the term hierarchy. Like I couldn't believe it. So I think stuff like that, like although logically I was like, that's like cuckoo, and like he liked what I said. So, but it really stuck with me. And then I had another boss who was like an insane micromanager. It's a whole complicated situation. And so when I hired people, I was like, I so didn't want to be the micromanager, so did not want to like cramp anybody's like creativity or anything that I ended up not managing at all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then also, then they're like, come to me with work, and I'm like, oh, it looks great. Let me just make a few tweaks. And then I like redo the whole thing because I didn't know how to get feedback without discouraging them. And I was like, what is this? And now it's hurting my business to like make them feel better. Like, what am I doing? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. So it's hard to navigate, especially when like you've never hired a team before.
Hmm.
You just kind of do what you think is best. But then I think those first couple bad hires, to be honest, is when you learn the most. I always say, like, lessons that are learned the hard way can literally only be learned the hard way. And I feel
Hmm.
like you could like read about a concept in a book. And then, like, once you go through it, you're like, oh, that's what the concept was about. But now I understand it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's, I feel like going through stuff like that. So like defeating and discouraging in the moment, but then like in time, you're like, it's such a blessing for like wherever the future of my career is going. Like learning,
Yeah.
I feel like I make choices so much differently now.
Hmm. Something that I had to remind myself, and I will continue to remind myself, is like when I people please, um, it's doing a disservice for me, my clients, and them. And, I'm the gate of shock in human design. And I have shocked a lot of people, clients. I remember letting a woman go a month or and a half after I hired her, and it felt very shocking to her, and no one understood it. No one understood it on
Mm,
my team. I didn't even understand it, but my instincts were like, she is not right, like almost like she doesn't like PR anymore, you're keeping her stagnant.
mm,
And that was the hardest let go, because I was perceived as not being someone that like walks the walk or allows,
mm,
and I had to let her have her feelings, her perception, and trust the instinct that I had. And I now see that she is doing a whole different career that she's always wanted to. And I
mm,
kind of think like, when we follow our inner guidance and our knowing, even if the immediate human reaction is shit, that you are saving, you're not wasting anyone's time, because it
mm-hmm,
helps recourse correct whoever is going down that journey. And I've been on the receiving end of it, right? Like being fired, or things not feeling good, or people quitting. But I think just holding space for people's reactions and emotions, but not letting their reaction and emotion determine if it's a right decision for everyone.
mm-hmm. I also think it's like such a balance of like, um, I guess when I'm like the boss, I'm like, okay, I have to be the boss and like not show emotion and
Mm,
like be da 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 da.
why?
And it's like, well, exactly. Why?
Yeah.
I guess because that's what I see as a boss does, and everyone says like you can't bring your personal into it, you can't bring your emotion, and
Mm,
that's been a big thing for me because that's who I am, and also that's like my personal is so interwoven in my professional, and that's what my clients love about me, actually.
mm,
As
mm,
I'm talking to you, I've never really thought about it like this. But it's hard for me because I think that's like one of the best things about me. I am good at what I do, but also like personally, I operate differently than I think working with other like marketing consultants. But then when it came to a team, I felt like I couldn't show too much emotion or make it too personal, but then that was cutting off a whole side of me. So it was just very
mm,
clunky. I don't
mm,
know. And then I don't know. So I guess I'm kind of still in that balance, but now or trying to find the balance or
mm,
what I should be doing. But now I think I've kind of released the like shoulds of business and I'm kind of just like doubling down on how I talk and operate and move. I guess
Yeah.
even I don't know, even little things like a friend was talking to me, she just got her MBA and she was emailing some networking connection and I guess she like accidentally spelt like the person's like name wrong or something like that, which is like yeah, that's like not that's like would be ideal not to do that. But I guess like her friend who like connected her was like, you really need to double check like everything or just like I don't know, just like corporate
There's
norms
no
of
room
like
for
the
human
email.
error.
That's what I'm saying. And like for me, like I'm like, hi, like I just kind of talk more like me. And then sometimes people are like,
Totally.
you need to be more professional. And I'm like, well, this I am a professional. Like who are you to say what professional is
Yep.
and is not? Like,
Yep.
I don't know. I feel
I
like
love that you're bringing this up because I actually thought about it yesterday of like the energetics behind your actions. And when I'm feeling insecure, I'll post something on my stories. And if I have a spelling error, I'll like repost again and like correct the spelling error.
mhm.
And at the end of the day, like I am not a spell checker at all. Like I have misspellings in 99% of the things that I
Yeah.
put out there. And when you own your shit and the essence comes through, people are going to
Hmm.
overlook that. Or if I've done that to an editor, because that's probably a similar thing. Obviously, that's not ideal, but sometimes I'll, send another email and be like, oh my gosh, like, so sorry, take
Hmm.
ownership, like, be the human.
That's what I'm
And
saying. Like, of course, correct it, but
right,
like you don't have to be like so like you didn't ruin the entire interaction because of
yeah,
like I don't know.
yeah.
Uh,
So to me, that feels like the friend is projecting their perfectionism onto the other person.
yeah, and also like she's nervous. Like she's been a teacher for like 10, 20 years, and then she
Totally,
just got her MBA
totally.
because she wants to like switch careers. And so like she's like really
So
like
nervous. Yeah.
yeah, and she's but it's great. It's so cool seeing her like go for it. Like she's always like
Hmm.
connecting with new people and wanting to like da 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 like find something. Anyway, so like I was just reassuring her because I feel like she was like so horrified, and I was like, yeah, like double check if someone has a tricky name, double check next time. But like it's okay. Like it's not like you're this opportunity is like over because
Yeah.
of this. And I felt like her corporate friend was making
Right.
her feel like she had like blew everything. I was like, oh my God. Like, so
Mm.
I don't know. That's just an example of, I guess, something that I've also felt like a bit insecure about. I guess when I'm because I work with a lot of startups and a lot of like female founders, and um, when I'm like, I don't know, I just feel so comfortable there because it's kind of like this. But
Hmm.
then I
Yeah.
find when I'm talking to corporate people, then I kind of start acting differently, and I'm like, why? Like, I don't know why. It's an
Hmm.
interesting like thing of being like. I mean, I always say that like I guess this isn't a corporate thing, but just in general, like women in business are very different than like men in business, and like
Hmm.
especially creative women.
Hmm.
So I find myself having to like just basically give myself permission and like just to communicate and be how I am.
Gosh, you've met my
Uh,
wife. Yes, you've met my wife.
yeah,
Because I always say that she's the um I run everything through her filter as the corporate world because she's a
yeah.
corporate lawyer and she's
Hmm.
literally like a 65-year-old man. Like loves a 5 p.m. supper, would walk to the same diner at like 8 years old and see her dad taking a work meeting there in the
Oh,
summer. Like just old soul, right?
yeah,
And I think, and honestly, also in human design, there are people that are meant to be so consistent, so like kind of the conditioned way. So it's even hard for me to say like the corporate friend was wrong. That might be right for her.
I completely agree.
But to, I think just to hold space and like know that what's meant to happen will happen. Like if she's meant to work for that person, they won't care They will look
Hmm.
past their own like ego of having their name misspelled and look at the rest of the letter that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It's
agree.
fascinating. How we do things is unique to us.
Hmm.
I say that all the time. But is there something what are you recently obsessing about? Because every time I talk to you it's like a new flavor.
Right now it's beach volleyball.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
And I actually will tell you the reason for that. I feel like, well, I've been going through a lot personally last couple months. I think I told you I
Hmm.
like started therapy for the first time. And basically, when there's only one person in the business
Yep.
and she
Preach.
needs a minute,
Hmm.
uh, I don't know. I've just been taking my gas off work a little bit, which is taking its toll, but at the same time, like I've needed to. And so
Yeah.
I think I think I've been doing everything that I described at the beginning of this. That's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. And I feel like when you work, like speaking of corporate, when you work at a job, like you get promoted, you get a raise, you get new
Hmm.
responsibilities. Like I'm basically in my own business, I'm trying to figure out how to get myself like a promotion. Like,
Hmm.
how do I like move on to like a new director role or something like that? So while I'm figuring out where do I want to go in the next season of my business, where am I going the next season of life? Also, there's like faith transitions happening. Like
Yeah.
I've just come back to sports. Like I've
Yeah.
been like looking at things, and like I played college basketball. I grew up playing, and I grew up playing
Hmm.
volleyball through high school. Um,
You get your
and
collaboration there and connection as well.
1000%. I signed up for this like unlimited membership of like volleyball classes. I've been going every morning at like 7 a.m. Like in my mind, like I'm on the volleyball
Hmm.
team. Like I gotta
I
like,
love that. And
and
honestly,
it's
like
been,
in my mind, I'm like, are there volleyball fashion brands? Like, are there brands that target
trust
like
me. I'm like,
beach?
okay, bikinis, sunscreens, like sunglasses. Like, let's go. Let's get the content.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, like the volleyball organization, just yesterday I met with him. I'm like, let me help your
Yeah, yeah.
website. I'm like, I'm
I
begging you.
was
And so
going
then
to say.
and then he's like, "Oh, we're making merch." I'm like, "Okay, great. This is what the girls want." So I don't know, but
This
I'm like
is
loving
what the
sports
girls want.
and like because he was showing me what they were getting for them. I'm like, he's like, "Well, no one buys it." I'm like, "Well, it's extremely basic. They could get that anywhere. Like, let's give them something cool. Like, let's get like something fresh on the beach." So,
Hmm.
anyways, but yeah. So last week was my first week where I literally went Monday through Friday, like I practice. And I just noticed this like Monday, a couple of days ago, I was just so much more just like let's go. Like, I don't know. It's like slowly but surely, but that's just like that's what is roots for me. It's
Yeah.
the mindset, it's the learning something. Like I
Yeah.
have to like and I think everything professionally, my skill set, I'm a little like bored to be honest. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I can do it. I am very good at it. But I just, oh, I can't stand to just like sit in front of the computer and do the same shit. So
Yeah.
getting outside has been huge for me because I've just been like working basically for the last 9 years. And not only that, I'm like, I can't believe like how much I have not been in the sun, how much I have not been around people. Like it's
Yeah.
really opened my eyes to a lot. So that's why it's been the obsession to balance out the scales. And I can already feel it. I'm like, okay, I'm like starting to feel better. So now I can get a little more balance in my days, but I've gone pretty
Hmm.
extreme. Like sometimes 8, 10 hours a day I'm on the beach. But I've
Yeah.
had to. I've really had to. I
Oh my
don't
gosh. I wonder if you have gate 15 anywhere in your chart. I need to look at this real quick.
but other than that, I guess I can yeah, do look that up. I'm trying to think what I'm
No,
excited about.
basically, it's just your incarnation cross of to busy yourself with what makes you happy. At the end of the day, if you busy yourself with what makes you happy, and also this does not compartmentalize of like you can only if you do this you'll only see success in your personal life. Like if you busy yourself with what makes you happy and you don't touch your computer, this will at the end of the day be giving you a promotion in life.
This is I think that's what's been happening. Like because it was kind of going on for a minute and I was like, what? But yeah, I don't know. I try to be very easy on myself. So instead of like expectations, oh, I should have clarity by now. I should feel better by now. I should. I don't know, but I've just been very kind of like, I don't know. I actually like, I love everything you always post whenever like I'm like flip through. I'm like, let me find the manifest agenda. I'm like, okay, what should I be doing? Um, but truly, like you obviously, I think you know that I really like value the words you share with me. So, but I feel it. I'm like, okay, I've needed to be tending somewhere else and I have been full throttle, but now I'm like genuinely like started like connecting with a ton of people lately. So now I have like new things kind of in the works and like, I don't know, he might be mad at me, but I'm actually one of my best friends, he's in video and he's at his own production agency and I met him. He started in weddings, so he was the wedding videographer at one of my best friend's weddings where I was a bridesmaid, like
Okay.
over 10 years ago.
That is
And we
such a
became the
full
best of
line of
friends.
you. Your connections, you're the
Yeah.
same profile as my wife. So like
Uh,
you were someone that had like once you connect with someone, you have a sticky connection in the best way.
yeah. Yeah. So he was kind of the first ones that I never knew who was a videographer. And then at that same wedding was my friend Chantel, who I did know who's the photographer. So Chantel and Chris were the first ones that I saw. And like so much of like I saw how he shot, I saw how he worked, I saw like I don't know, I just like learned a lot from him. And then like we'd always just make content of each other. And then he went on to build a really successful production agency. But then we're also very similar. So then like he had to like jump ship and like disappeared and then like is like doing some other stuff. But anyways, we're working on like some workshops for like
Love that.
education for like
Oh my
creatives and
gosh.
entrepreneurs. And like I don't know, it's very recent, like the last like
Hmm.
week we started talking about this
Hmm.
because I haven't ever really wanted to get into education. Like I even told you in the beginning, because I think I see so many classes and courses that promise the world, and I just don't think that's how people really learn, or at least
Well,
that's
I
not
think you
how I
need to.
want to
I
learn.
think you should get into education because you do have that perspective.
Yeah. So
Someone's going to
I'm
want to
pretty,
learn the way that you teach.
that's what I'm saying. And we've been talking about that. That's the thing I just keep coming back to. I'm just like, I can't, I don't know. I was like, we just have to do it in a way that's just like human and just like how we chat. Like, I can't, I don't know. So I'm
Mm.
very excited though, because he's incredibly talented. I might have even told you about him before, but he's like obviously expert in video, photo editing, all that stuff. And then I have like my websites, my Clavio, my Canva, like, you know what I mean? So I'm pretty excited. That's something that we're working on, uh, early days. And then also, I guess, I need to be, I'm doing like a new like outreach for pitching where I can be more of that like strategy, like director role in an organization
Mm.
rather
Yeah.
than me like executing everything.
Yep.
Like I can maybe in the beginning, but like let's work towards like hiring someone.
Yeah. I
So that's
think
kind of what I want to be. I want to be more in a director strategy role at this point.
love that.
The
Love that.
promotion.
And that is needed. That's needed in
Is
brands.
it? Because I feel like I said that to someone one time and they're like, but just strategy. And I'm like, yeah, isn't that a job? Like, I don't know. I'm like, that's just what I
Okay, so
do. Like,
one
literally,
person doesn't get it. The one person that you talk to
yeah,
doesn't get it. That's where
yeah.
like
When you say it
allow
like
the
that, I'm like, oh, just this one
right, right.
comment
Hey,
months ago that I keep coming back to.
I that shit happens to me all the time too. You know, even my wife and I are opposite, and she doesn't understand half the shit I bring to her. But she has once she sees me doing it, then her perspective can be expanded.
Hmm.
But I think if you think of all the things that you can bring and lead, and you don't desire to be like a full-time employee, and you can be like this, you're just really efficient with guiding and seeing things from a full production standpoint or a strategy
Hmm.
standpoint, that you can move things along really quickly.
Yeah, I need to take my own advice. I literally just need to take my own advice,
Yeah.
which is, which is the theme, the common
Yeah.
theme. Um, what are you
So I
excited about?
Oh my gosh. My therapist, well, this is what I'm focusing on and what I'm excited about. Because it has been helping. But I'm always like thinking I'll be happy when I do this, or I'll be happier when I do
Hmm.
this, or I'll be happier when I do this. And it is a gift to see ahead. It's a gift to like want to always move forward. But she's like, Kayla, like happiness is like a journey, it's not a destination. So how about
Hmm.
you like be happy right now and see like what are you happy about right now? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like just the weight off my shoulders of like needing to achieve like the best thing in the world every single day when I wake up, or having to have it all figured out versus just I know that getting on the Peloton and sitting in the sauna makes me happy. I know taking a almost 2 hour nap every single day lately, Angie,
I love
makes me
that.
happy. My wife thinks I need a CPAP. And I'm like, I'm about to be pregnant, well, knock on wood, pregnant with a baby. Like, there's no other time in my
Oh,
life that I'll be able to take two
yeah.
hour naps.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm excited about. It's just like slower life.
So I love that. When Leah did my wall, that's how I met Leah actually, which by the way, I love the bag in the back. Um, so when I had an office, when I was hiring people, I hired Leah to write on my wall, and I wrote this whole list of just like words that were important to
Mhm.
the business, important to me. And one of the little like phrases that I wrote was like best is now, because I feel like people are like the best is yet to come, but then I think that it is, but then it also kind of keeps you like thinking that like this isn't as good as it's going to be. I don't know. So I've always liked that concept, and like also in describing like where I'm at and like life and business right now, like people are like, "Oh, how's it going?" I'm like, "Well, it's actually like in a little bit of a slump right now." And I was kind of, but then I had the thought, I'm like, no, like, how are things? Things are great. This is what it is. Like, this is not a bad
Yeah.
time. This
Like you're
is
one
just
of the
the
happiest
time.
you've been. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
I had to have an ego
Honestly.
death of like
Yeah.
it was so fulfilling to my ego to be like, great, I have 8 clients and 6 team members and da 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 da. But like I did not feel happy.
Hmm. It also reminded me when something you said earlier, but yeah, when I started hiring people and I got the office, and I was just like, first of all, my job completely changed. Now I'm like managing and not
Totally.
even being creative. Like,
Hmm.
and then not only that, like, I don't know, like when it all ended, I had that thought. I was like, why did I do that? Like, why did I want that? And I think it was like to feel impressive to myself and others. Like, so I had an agency. Like, that's just what you do. I guess I was freelancer, then I maxed out as a freelancer. So what's the next thing? You do agency. Like, well, not necessarily. I think you said something
Hmm.
about doing what's better for you. And like, that's what I learned from that. And so then I was like,
Totally.
back to the kitchen table. How can I get more efficient? How can I like
Yeah.
provide a more valuable service without involving other people? And then my aunt told me about this book called Company of One. I don't know if you've heard of it or I've told you, but it was
No.
like why staying small is like the next big thing in business is a little tagline. Um, but I loved it. I loved reading about a different strategy,
Hmm.
and people are building and doing amazing business very smally,
Yeah.
very with a small team or just like themselves. But I
Yeah.
always wondered that. I was like, why did I do that? And I think it's because I just thought that's what you do. There was no
Yeah.
pause of like what's best for me. So, but that's
Yeah.
also what I learned about it. And that's also why I'm so passionate about that. And now in my consulting, that's why I'm so individualized about it. I'm like, I don't give a fuck
Yeah.
what every other business is doing. Like, how do you operate? And there was a girl, she's starting like a fashion tech company. She's like such a genius, little quirky girl. And she's talking about needing help. And she's like, well, I'm just like really nervous because then if I bring people on, like, they're just going to be like bothering me with like meetings all day. And like, I don't want to have a meeting on Monday morning. Like, Mondays is when I get into it. And I was like, well, why don't you have your team meetings on Wednesday?
Right.
And she
Right.
was like, and just
Or
tell your
don't have
team
any
we're on,
meetings at all.
no, literally, or tell your team like there's a window like on Tuesdays from like 1 to 3 when you can ask me questions and then don't talk to me the rest of the week because that's just the
Yeah.
type of person that you are. Like,
Yeah.
no problemo. Like, the whole point of like building your own business, like, why would you build a business that works against you? That makes no sense
Mm-hmm.
if you're the founder of it. But this is one of the lessons I learned the hard way. In hiring people, I was like, okay, like, these are the experts. They have this thing that I don't have. And I don't
Mm.
really understand, like, okay, it's not really, like, I had the little feeling in the tummy of like, huh? Like, a little question mark at the end. I'm like, okay, but I have to release trust. I have to release control. I have to trust they're the expert. And I completely abandoned my
Mm.
own thinking. So that was another thing that I learned.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think we just think we need these people. It's like so cliche. It's like the magic is within us.
The magic is
So,
totally within us. And I think my next phase is like I hired someone to help me with social media, but I made sure I knew that I needed to manifest like a unicorn feeling for me as a projector to feel seen because I see people in their potential, but they never, I've had this situation where I've seen people in their potential, but they never actually deliver or are held accountable to deliver to
hmm,
that level. So I would see the best in people and it always kind of like come back on me. Of them sending me a pitch and I have to edit it and doing, then I'm left feeling bitter because I'm doing all the work.
hmm.
But the person that I'm working with, Chantel is her name actually as well. She DM'd me in my on Instagram and told me that I was on her vision board to be one of her
Oh,
clients. So like
wow.
the most direct invite as a projector.
It's like the perfect way to approach you.
Yeah,
It's the perfect pitch for you.
oh totally. I was like, oh, me?
Hired, hired.
Hired. Um, the price was right. She is not set in her ways. She,
Mm,
like, we change things up, like, we have a fluid scope, but there's like transparency and
mm,
trust. And I know that when I don't feel like I'm getting what I deserve in a week, I hold myself accountable to have that conversation with her, and it's completely fixed and we're,
mm,
so it's like this, I think how we fantasize romantic relationships of what I've really learned is like there's no perfect person. There's no person that's going to tick all your boxes. There's going to, you're going to have differences that you have to respect in one another. That's the same with colleagues of like you have to respect them as a human and yourself as a human. But if you don't know your own standards and values, then they don't have any standards to meet. And so I think there's so much crossover between like being married and hiring people. Um, I could do a whole podcast episode on that.
No, there's so much like the same thing when your business, especially when it's like it's like so intimate. It's like your baby,
Mm-hmm.
it's your mind, it's your everything. Like, it's very intimate. It is like a relationship. Like,
Yeah.
I loved how you said that when you're not getting what you're wanting, that your first thought is that's on you to discuss it with this person. And I feel like that's one of those things that you've probably, I would imagine, have learned by experience. I feel like because I think the first gut thing would be like the person you hired is like the problem or they're not delivering. But like as a
Mm-hmm.
leader, I think I really like respect and admire that thought process to be like, oh, that's the sign. I thought you were gonna say that's a sign to me. I got to talk to her about like her work or whatever. You're like, that's a sign I need to
Yeah.
like adjust. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
I
it's
admire that.
strong. I think I was learning. This was my first hire in almost 2 years. And
Mm,
she is an out, like she owns her own business. She's not working on my clients. So it's a little bit of a distance.
hmm,
But I know that my pattern in the past has not been to inform my expectations. Projectors can have invisible expectations. So I can have these expectations that are not communicated, and then I'm left feeling bitter when they're not delivered. So when I'm feeling a certain way, having that conversation of, this is how I'm feeling on my end, versus not saying, not blaming, shaming, or placing guilt on the other person. It's essentially like, I feel this way. is there a way, like, how does that resonate with you? Like, is there a way that we can come together? Like, I always say, like, how can I deliver feedback? Because I'm essentially her client versus
Mm,
her being my
true,
employee, if you think of it like
true.
that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I almost see it from like the
which
opposite
I
end
love.
of like me being a good client too and wanting to be a
Mm,
good client. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's better. That would be better for me to be in a client dynamic or like a collaborative dynamic. I guess I kind
Totally.
of tossed in the
Totally.
towel. I was like, I'm just not going to be good at managing people. I don't want anyone working for me ever
I,
again. But I love collaborating. But then I'm like, okay, maybe I didn't go too extreme. Um, but I think, I don't know, I really admire that. I'm sure, I don't know, you just sound like that's like good leadership and that like is good people management. Which is something that I was like, I'm not even gonna master it. I'm just gonna be done with it. It's just like
yeah.
everyone, just like I'm done.
Yeah. I'm kind of at that place where like at some point I will desire an assistant, but I don't even know where my business is going to be 6 months from now or a year from now. And like, will I, if I don't have clarity, I've learned that the invite will be so clear to me if it's meant
Mm,
for me, like her being like, you're on my manifestation board versus me trying to go out and find an assistant. And then I'm
hmm
like, I don't really know what you're gonna do. Like, you're gonna be doing all these things, but also like my business could literally take a sharp left turn,
hmm
and maybe I'm not doing affiliate PR anymore. So do I train them in that? So I've just like fully like release control and I just allow invites to come my way.
Imagine that. Release control of outcome
Hmm.
expectations, I guess.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
thought of
I
another
did
thing when
not
you
know.
said,
Whoops. Oh,
oh,
sorry. Go.
oh no, I want you to remember that. But how you said in the business partnerships, like relationship. So my friend who just got her MBA, I've been talking to her about some stuff and just right out the gates, we're talking about selling these hats. And like right
Hmm.
out the gates, I was like, okay, so what I'm sensing is I was like, we're gonna have like some creative differences. So I'm thinking perhaps maybe this should just be like your thing and I can like consult on it because like I just know myself and like I'm gonna get like irked if like I have to put it. I don't know, I was like so stressed and like this is like she's like a teacher and she's like so calm and she's like, okay, well, I think in like a business partnership, like there might be some compromise or like work or like some like conversations to find solutions. And I'm like, okay, I can be back in the business. She's like, that's all you had to say. And I'm like, yes. I was like, although I'm very like, boom, 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 boom. As soon as you say something that makes sense to me, like I will switch to the new thought process. But like,
Totally.
I was, I don't know. And also probably because of like working with others when I don't know, I'm very, very scared. And even like my best friend Chris talking about these workshops, like we talk all the time, we're like, we're scared. Like,
Yeah.
because he's also had like his agency with his brother went south. I was doing some work with my sister, that's gone south. Neither of us have come back together with our siblings yet, unfortunately. And like, we're so close, like, we're just like so scared. But like,
Yeah. I mean, my friendship
um,
of 20 years is no longer.
yeah.
Yeah. It is very scary.
So, but I guess with him and I, um, we're definitely communicating differently.
Yes.
We both changed a lot, but then I was like, I was like, I gotta be honest, I have like this vision of like a flashback to like it all falling apart. Then we come back to this calm and we're like, we're different now.
Okay.
I don't know, but then I don't
This will
know.
help because I brought this fear literally to my therapist 2 sessions ago. Have you ever
Mm,
heard of the wise mind?
mm-mm,
Okay. So think of two circles and they come together. So you have a middle area. One circle is the emotional way of thinking. The other circle is the rational way of thinking. And then when they crisscross, in the middle is the wise mind. I was literally fearful of a potential collaboration and just everything that that could bring. So I went through this practice, and like my emotional brain is like, I'm going to lose myself. I'm going to people please. I'm going to be so frustrated, like all these things. Then the rational side is business, just like so black and white. But when you put the two together, you could say it might go south. I might lose myself. I might, have a tiff with this guy friend, but I know I have support and the resources like my therapist now, but like honoring the fear
Mm-hmm.
and saying like, I got me.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you can fully fail is by not trying altogether. So just being like aware of like, what are your biggest fears around like collaborating with close friends closely, whatever that is, and honoring that, but bringing in this like wise part of like, I've done this before. I know I'll survive. Like, if it's meant to be, it will be. Sometimes rejection is protection. Like, just whatever is meant to happen will happen. And that
Mm-hmm.
just like relaxed my shoulders so much when I just like sunk into that, because we
Yeah.
feel like we have to be so successful at everything we do, especially relationships.
Yeah. I like what you're saying about um, just like that, like internal dialogue, I guess. Because I do feel like that is
Mm-hmm.
something that's changing about me, has been, currently is finding that like safety within self rather than
Mm-hmm.
like I know now I've been grasping at friends, boyfriends, work, family, like somebody to like validate something or provide safety for something. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. And so now that I'm getting to know myself in a different way, I can just participate in these things rather
Mm-hmm.
than like having like this like subconscious desperation for
Yeah,
it to, I don't know what, but I felt myself kind of, because I haven't always operated like that. This is like a new sense
totally.
of, um, of self, I guess, and relationship. And also, even like with the therapy, I'm getting to know a whole part of myself I didn't even know existed. And now I'm like, oh,
Mm.
that's the part that needs tending to and needs like baby girl, like needs a hug. Like I didn't even know, like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? So
Yes.
yeah, a lot's been uh, changing, but I think getting to like creating that like home within yourself, then you can enjoy and probably optimize these other opportunities around you
Mm-hmm.
rather than like doing the opportunities for like some result that will provide some validation somewhere. I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about.
Mm-hmm. Happy Days by Gabby Bernstein. I started reading, and it I'm just getting into the part where she talks about internal family systems, but it's
Mm,
like our internal family within ourself, like my protector self that comes out angry and defensive is like my rebellious teenager, or the like, I don't feel pretty, I want to feel pretty, is like my 8-year-old to like 12-year-old self with that, so like um explore that book if you're looking for something, because
happy
it
days.
Happy Days, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Well, I did recently start reading again.
me
I
too.
hadn't read since like Harry Potter, like when it first came out.
I like anyone that's read Harry Potter, I'm like, you have a side of you that can go in.
I read those books so fast. Like, and I forgot about reading. But honestly, the first book I just read that I got through was Paris Hilton's book, her memoir.
Oh,
I loved it. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I've just been reading stuff that was like boring to me because
oh,
when I
if
read this,
you
like I loved it. And
Julia
then I
Fox
read, and
down
then,
the drain.
okay,
Julia
you
Fox
have to
down the
text me
drain.
all these things.
I will.
And then I read, like The Shoe Dog about Nike. And
Yeah,
then again, like that was
cool.
interesting to me. Yeah. So yeah, the Paris Hilton book was very different than what I was expecting.
Interesting.
Um,
That's one that I haven't purchased, but I should. I love
yeah,
a
well, a
good
lot of the
memoir.
topics were like ADHD is like influences so much about her life, and then also when she was younger. going to these child rehab places, but
Yeah.
really abusive and really terrible, and actually learning about some of my family. I feel like, anyways, I just feel like there was a lot in that she shared that either I've been affected by or people close to me have been, and I
Yeah.
gained a new understanding and empathy for myself and
Yeah.
others, and
Also,
also
I'm pretty
parents.
sure she's an MG like you are.
Well,
So, and it's so funny because Julia Fox is a projector like me.
mm. Oh, that's funny.
But they both, Julia Fox writes in a way that feels very ADHD. It's not like super
That's how
long,
Paris
drawn out.
writes.
Yeah. So I
So
think
she
you
goes on
will,
tangents. Like it's like talking
yes.
to a girlfriend. Like she tells a story and then
And then
then
jumps to
back
the
to it.
next topic.
But I
There's
mean,
really,
that's perfect. Like that's
yeah.
exactly how I like wanted to hear this. Like I don't know. So that was the other thing that I maybe why I stayed with it, because it was how my mind works. And she
Hmm.
says that in the beginning. She's like, just so you like to warn you, like I'm going to be writing like how I write and how I talk and how I think.
Good for
So just
her. Okay, now I need to buy
yeah,
this book.
yes, I really liked it for multiple reasons. And actually, like the writing style is like was one of the reasons. I was like, that's very cool that
Yeah.
you did it in like tangents and then you circle
Weird
back and
authenticity.
then God forbid, right?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, well, we've reached an hour, which is crazy. That like flew
Well,
by. But
I
I
feel like
think
it always does.
I love mantras. You know that. Do
Okay.
you have one that you have been loving yourself that you say? One that you can share or one that you've been told and like,
So I'm actually gonna share some. I'll see if I can remember all of them. There's seven. A couple of sessions ago, um, my therapist had like these little flashcards or like little kid drawings, basically. Like I'm literally going back to like kindergarten, but I'm like, okay, I'm here for it. Uh, so then I flipped through all the cards and then I pulled out the ones that stuck to me. And then I guess it would say, I am like fearless. I am a winner. I am smart. I am safe. I am silly. I am important. There was one more. Fearless, winner, smart, safe, silly. Oh, and I'm happy, I think. So those are the kind of the things that have been running through my mind the last, whenever I did that, month or two.
I love
But then
that.
I come back to that. And those are things that are personal, like for me, you know?
Yeah. Well, and
But also universal, but
so universal to like the 5, 6 year old
that's what
because
it is.
everyone's inner 5, 6 year old. Because even if you feel like you had the perfect childhood, something as simple as like a friend hurting your feelings on the playground.
Did I say I'm a winner? I can't
Yeah.
remember if I said that was one of them, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was a big one too.
That one really stuck out for me for you
Hmm.
with like
Yeah.
achievement. And I think you're healing playing sports again and like trusting yourself to show up and like not have to win and just have fun
Hmm.
and feel that like camaraderie from people just by having fun. I don't know, there was such a healing energy around it when you were talking about it.
Well, also because like I'm so competitive that like my natural self-talk is so hard on myself. Like, and
Yes,
I
yes.
like playing this beach volleyball and doing the drills, and I'm like, that's my default. But then
Mm,
I'm also using these practices and games as an opportunity to have like to focus, to like stay calm
yeah,
and not go there. So I'm also having this like sports meditation like thing happening the whole time I'm playing as well.
totally.
Um, and then I also heard this like study. I know we're out of time, but I've been thinking about this in sports, but I think it applies everywhere. It was a study about I think tennis, whatever the sport was. It was studying like the top 5% of the players versus the top 25. Like, what's the difference there? Because
Mm,
obviously, there's all incredible athletes. They're practicing. Is it like nutrition? No. Is it like reps? No. Is it like hours in the gym? No. And the thing that they found was that the top 5% didn't waste any or very little time, like with like negative self talk after a mistake,
yeah.
um, because even that little bit of energy was not being spent. So they had more energy for their performance because they
Mm,
weren't even wasting like a half a second of energy
Mm.
to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another thing I've been thinking. And it's like before I start my games, and I'm like, just so you guys know, like I'm doing this new thing where like I'm not wasting energy on negativity. So if I mess up, it's not because I don't care, but I just like can't show an emotion about it.
Yeah.
And it's been really good practice though. Like this
Yeah.
principles, then I'm like moving into like my work thing. Get an unfortunate email. Normally I'd be like, you know, you can take a hit, wherever I go with that. But now I'm like, I don't even want to waste energy on that. I need to keep my energy for
I
the things
love
I want to be
that for
doing.
you. I love
Yeah.
that for you because you always say,
Yeah.
I always tell you as an MG, how you carry yourself is how people are going to meet you. So if you don't make a big deal out of that
Yeah.
mistake, no one else will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's the other thing for the sports. It's like physical, and I'm like, I want beach volleyball body, so I'm getting that. But also it's like psychological. I'm literally like in like a
Check,
psychological, like
check.
sports meditation, like the entire time. Like,
Yeah.
so serving many purposes. But definitely like my mental game was something I've been prioritizing recently and wanting to get really sharp.
An overall glow up, Angie. And just every time I see you, just evolving.
Oh, I have evolved since our first convo.
So have I.
As have you. As have you. I was going to say we have.
Angie didn't know what she was getting herself into when she had her first call with me. It was like, what are your traumas? What are your biggest fears?
So literally. I thought we were going to talking like strategy or something. And then you're like, what year were you born? Or what time of day? I'm like, I'm going to text my mom. I'm like, I have it in my notes somewhere. I always get asked this.
Oh gosh, that's so funny. Well, thank you so much for just hanging
Mind
out
if I
with
do
me.
a little closing video?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go
The
for
first
it.
one I took didn't work.
Do you have a vision for it?
Yeah, just do a little wave. Cute.
Peace out.
Nailed it. Got the shot. What the fuck? Why does it say the recording failed? This is what happened last time. We have to
Oh,
do
we
it one
can
more
do it one
time.
more time.
Okay. Oh, it's because I'm on this call. Oh, let's see.
Do you want me to record one?
No, I have the vision.
No, I'll be patient for you. This is real life, people.
Okay, I'm ready now.
Angie troubleshoots in real time. Okay.
Wait, got the shot. Perfect. Vision complete.
Perfect. Mission complete. I love that. Okay, beautiful.
Well,
Love you.
thank you so much, by the way, for asking me to do this. I actually have like one of the many things I want to do, like a podcast tour. I don't like want a podcast, but I want to start being on podcasts.
Hell
I've
yeah.
actually never even told anyone that. But so then
Oh,
when you
yeah.
asked me to be on your podcast, like I just like respect and admire you so much, like personally and professionally, that I was honored. And also it was just something I've been having in my mind that I've been wanting. So I really, really appreciate you like wanting to have this conversation with me, and also just like for the opportunity.
Oh my gosh. Well, and what I was saying, I was like, damn, Ange, like almost 10 years being an entrepreneur, like I forget that.
Yeah, I do too.
That's
I do
you got a lot of experience, but okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna press stop now and then we're gonna
Okay.
wait until the recording uploads because I've never
Okay.
done this before.
Let's do it. I
Okay.
love this format, by the way.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have the most beautiful day.